Welcome to Turf Talk. This is episode 19. It is, what are we going into? October of 2022. And my name is Matt.
I'm Casey.
And we are here to give you a little bit of talking points of what we're seeing in the lawns right now and what we're going to be seeing in the coming month. And also what services that we're doing and how we're seeing those affected. So, Casey, can you just give us kind of an overview of what's the weather like right now? Because we're still in September filming this. So what's it like now, and what are we expecting in October?
Sure. So up until today, weather's been hot. It's been humid. We've seen a little bit of moderate rainfall. We haven't seen grass really dip back into dormancy like it would have in July. There has been some heat stress on the lawn. There is some fungal damage still occurring, but today we've had a huge shift in the weather pattern. Yesterday it was 90 degrees, today it's 65. So that's great. It's a great sign. We're coming into fall weather. That means a lot of repair in the lawn. The lawn's going to start preparing for winter. It's going to start storing food. It's going to be repairing damage from summer. It's going to start expanding a little bit, trying to thicken up and establish itself before it goes dormant in the winter, so that it can come out strong in the spring.
So is it true, so if let's just use an example. You know how when you were a kid and you were learning about all these different animals and they were talking about bears, and bears go into their cave or whatever to hibernate, but they eat all this food ahead of hibernation. Is that true with grass also? As you're coming in the fall, does it store up all this food to help it get through the winter a little bit, even though it's dormant, and then burst out in the spring?
Absolutely, Matt. Grass is a living thing. Just like you and I, it needs nutrients. During the winter months, its metabolism slows down so much that it's not producing a whole lot of food during the winter months. It's not concentrating on topward growth. It's really just kind of sitting there and waiting for conditions to be right for it to reestablish that growth pattern. So the lawn needs nutrients to survive on during that time, because its metabolism is so slow, it's not able to really take that stuff up and process it and turn it into food. So it does store a supply of nutrients to see it through that dormancy stage.
So is that why, you know, all of our colleagues up at Purdue's Turf Science program, the extension, they always say that round 6 is the most important round?
They do. I like to argue with them a little bit about that, and I prefer round 1 and 2 being the most important rounds because we're doing that crabgrass preemergent. But they have a point with that. Round 6, that winterizer round, getting that nutrient into the soil, into the root zone, so that it can be stored, is very, very important for the way the lawn is going to come out in the spring. Oftentimes what we see, Matt, is we see lawns that have been winterized come out 2 weeks earlier. They're greening up much faster. They're starting to produce that top growth 2 weeks before the neighbor's lawn who didn't receive that winterizer. So that's a huge head start in the spring to get, you know, some top growth going on, some filling out going on, you know, build the immune system inside the plant, and get it ready for that summer stress.
And as you can imagine, when we get to the springtime, we're not just putting down fertilizer. We're trying to control for crabgrass and other grassy weeds, and that's what we use the pre-emergent for. And some of those things can be harsh on the actual grass plant itself. So that's why round 6 is so vitally important. So then it has the nutrients needed to help it push through that round 1, round 2, when we're putting out the pre-emergent round 1, and then we're putting out a post-emergent in round 2, is you need all that extra food. So let's go talking about how important that is. Let's kind of dive into what fertilizer we're going into, because we're going to start round 6 here soon, or
very soon, yeah.
Or in the 1st of October. It's going to be right around this time. We're starting to see the temperatures come down, and this is the perfect time to start that kind of winterizer application. So what are we seeing in that?
Sure. So the fertilizer that we use in round 6, Matt, is it's a 3404 all mineral fertilizer. What that means, it's still a time release fertilizer, so it's going to stick around. It's going to feed over an extended period of time, all the way through the month of October and going into November. That stuff's going to be breaking down, getting into the root zone, and being absorbed by the grass. The 34 is the nitrogen. That is a high level of nitrogen. We don't put that level of nitrogen down any other time of year because during heat and drought, obviously that would burn a lawn up. During the early spring, it would produce so much top growth that you would be mowing every other day.
Right.
This time of year, as the grass is slowing its metabolism, it's not concentrating on that top growth. What it's going to utilize that nitrogen for is conversion into food and surplus.
And it's storing it for the wintertime. That's why we're
Correct.
putting so much out, but it's time released.
Right.
So then it helps it store that food. Now, with us putting this Winterizer out, that is going to help any yards that have received aeration and overseeding.
Absolutely.
Establish the grass.
Yeah, absolutely. Those young sprouts have not had a chance to develop any kind of food supply. They're basically relying on what they can access right there in the soil where their little root tendrils are. And if we're putting that nitrogen down, nitrogen boosts growth within grass, and the potassium or potash, which is that number 4 at the end, that boosts the immune system and health of the lawn or the grass. So the new grass is going to have a huge supply of nitrogen, so it's going to be able to grow very rapidly. It's not going to mature completely, but it is going to be closer to maturity than a grass that was not fertilized with that, and it's going to be much healthier than a grass that was not fertilized. So that Winterizer is a huge boost for those of you that had aeration and overseeding this fall. It's going to make a world of difference in the results that you see from that.
Especially if they're using that and following our watering instructions.
Correct.
Which everybody should be. So if you received aeration or overseeding, or you're going to be receiving aeration or overseeding, make sure you're following the watering instructions. It is an automation, so if for whatever reason, if we did your aeration and seeding and you did not get that, if the automation failed or something like that, just let us know, and we're more than happy to send that back out to you. So let's we talked about the fertilizer, what's happening. Are we going to be doing any weed control in round 6?
That's a great question, Matt. And the real answer is no. Most of your annual weeds are going to be dying out due to frost. Their metabolism is slowing so much right now that because of cool weather, they're probably not even going to process the herbicide fast enough to kill them off before we see frost. Just like the grass, their metabolism slows down in cooler weather. Anytime we're seeing nighttime temperatures, in the 50s, weed control really starts to slow down and almost stop working. The nice thing is, frost is going to kill almost every one of those annual weeds, including the crabgrass and perennial weeds. It's going to tell them go to sleep. They're not going to pop back up till spring.
And so when those weeds go away, that crabgrass goes away, that's exactly where we want the seed, the aeration and seeding. We want those. That's the purpose of it, to fill those areas in, so that next year those weeds that are sitting there, they're always going to be sitting there. You're always going to have millions of weed seeds, but if there's something in its place where it grew last year, like grass, it has nowhere to grow and it's not going to grow.
Right, that competition will crowd that weed out. It won't allow it to receive enough sunlight to really rapidly grow. It's also going to be competing for water and nutrients. If that grass is taking up everything that's available there, that weed's not going to stand a chance.
All right, so pest control. We're kind of at the tail end of the season.
Yes, sir.
As the temperatures are coming down, though, what happens to pests when the temperatures come down?
So as temperatures drop, Matt, those pests realize winter is coming. They're going to be looking for harborage. They're going to look for a safe shelter, and the ideal safe shelter for a bug in the wintertime is inside your home.
Yeah.
So that perimeter pest application is going to be very important this time of year. Keep those bugs out. You don't want bugs in the house all winter. They're annoying, they're pesky, they can cause damage. Certain bugs can create allergy issues. There's a whole gambit of issues that pests cause, just on top of being an annoyance. That perimeter pest application is going to help prevent those pesky little dudes from coming in the house.
And the other nice thing is we also use the pole, and so we brush the outside of the soffits and such to knock down any cobwebs or wasps' nests or bees' nests or anything like that. And so, you know, some lawn care companies that would be doing your pest control, they might spray the base, which is a great start, but they don't get all the bugs that are at the top, and those bugs will still find harborage in your house. So we give kind of that double whammy there to help you guys experience less bugs, but you are probably going to start seeing more bugs trying to get into your house, especially if you don't have perimeter pest control. You'll probably start seeing a lot more bugs in your house because they want to live where there's some form of water they can get, and it's warm.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So we got that. Are we done with? Do we have any more pet lover treatments to do?
No, flea and tick has wound up for the year. We'll continue that going into, I believe, April of next year.
Next year is when we start back
we'll be
up.
coming out with that.
And then we have one more treatment of mosquitoes.
Correct. Yeah, along with that perimeter pest control, we're also going to do. So we're filming in the last couple days of September. There is an application going out pretty much as we speak, and then going into the last couple of weeks of October, that's when you'll see your last perimeter pest and your last mosquito application.
Gotcha. Cool. So then we actually have, and we want to talk, spend a little bit of time on this, aeration and seeding. We start August 15th, but I don't think that we actually started till maybe close to September 1st-ish.
We did the last 3 days of August, yeah.
But there's a big thing that we want to make sure that you're aware of. If you got a quote from us and you decided, well, maybe it's a little too expensive, and you went with another company. Some of the really big companies around here, they are going to be doing aeration and seeding into December, maybe into January. And you might have gone with them because they're a little bit more, less expensive. But this is an investment in your property, in your house. And if you hired somebody that is going to be doing your aeration in the tail end of November, December, January, you're 100% throwing all of your money away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, your aeration is going to be totally fine, but that seed is what's called a dormant seed now. None of that is going to establish now. It's going to be essentially a spring aeration and seeding. And you know what happens when you seed in the spring? It probably is not going to survive the harsh summers.
Based on my experience, Matt, spring seeding sees an 80% fail rate.
Yeah. So we do have, I mean, what you see right here, this is grass seed. We have 2.5 pallets left of grass seed. We can still get you guys taken care of. If you know that your seeding is going to happen later in the season, give us a call. We stop October 15th is our last day that we will seed any person's yard, because we are going to be transparent with you and tell you the honest truth. But not everybody is that way. They just want whatever brings in revenue to their business. So we shut down October 15th for aeration and seeding. So if you're getting seeding afterwards, please reconsider that, or just know that you're probably throwing your money away. And if you want it to be done early and done right, just give us a call. We'll be able to fit you in.
Absolutely. We have almost open availability the first 2 weeks of October leading up to the 15th. So plenty of space to get in. We can definitely fit you in somewhere on the calendar. If you need, maybe some specific date ranges, we can even kind of work with some of that now that we're through the bulk of the aeration season.
Right.
If you need aeration and they're not going to get to you before winter sets in, definitely reconsider. Like Matt said, that dormant seeding is not going to do you any good. Plus, any seed that doesn't germinate before spring is going to get that crabgrass pre-emergent put down on it. We're not the only company that does that. That's a very typical thing to do in the lawn care industry. So once they put that crabgrass pre-emergent down, your seed's null and void. It's not going to come up.
And the last thing we want to talk about before we get going is when we get into the wintertime, our big business in the wintertime is Christmas lights. So if you're interested in Christmas lights, our average light install is right around $1,200 for a house. That could include the house, some mini lights, maybe some wreaths. That's just our average ticket, but our minimum is $500. So if you're looking for somebody to help you install those lights, give us a call and we'll be able to get you an estimate and install your lights for you.
So Matt, a couple quick questions about those Christmas lights. When you guys come out and do Christmas lights for $1,200, are those your lights or my lights?
So they are the customer's lights. We actually sell them and the customer owns those lights. However, we will take them down for you. We'll service them all year long and we will store them in our climate controlled warehouse. And then the following year, you just pay us a reinstallation fee, which is 25% of the initial year's install, and then we'll bring them back out and put them up for you.
And then what if a bulb goes out, or maybe the wind blows a strand and it's kind of
Give us a call. It's a full service. Give us a call. We'll be out within 48 hours to fix any issues with
That's
it.
awesome. That's awesome stuff, Matt.
Yeah. So that's all we got for Turf Talk, episode 19, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you on the lawn.